Welcome to my channel. I'm Scott, and if you want to catch my newest video, I post one every day. In this video, I am going to walk you through the process of valuing Albertsons stock by analyzing their financial statements and dissecting their financial ratios so we can determine if it's a buy or a sell. Albertsons is a supermarket chain. The company is headquartered in Boise, Idaho, and was founded in 1939. It went public in 2020 and currently trades on the NASDAQ. It has 2,253 stores and is the second largest supermarket chain in North America after Kroger, which has 2,750 stores. Prior to its 2015 merger with Safeway for $9.2 billion, it had 1,075 stores. Let's get started with the model. This is a mid-cap company, 8.7 billion market cap. They're trading at $19 a share, and they have 466 million shares outstanding. Let's look at the financials. The way you value a company is you estimate the free cash flows into the future, and then you discount those numbers back to today's value. That's what we're doing in this video. And free cash flow is cash flow from operations minus capital expenditures. So you can see the company had negative free cash flow in 2018, but then it grew a lot after that, from 300 million all the way up to 2 billion. Net income is the profit and loss on the income statement. It's revenue minus expenses. They had a small positive in 2018, but then it grew to nearly $1 billion in the trailing 12 months. Revenue is a sales for the company, and that's growing a lot, from 59 billion to 69 billion. Grocery stores and supermarkets did really well during COVID. This is the company's income statement. The top line is the revenue, the sales. Below that is the cost of revenue. These are the expenses directly related to generating the revenue. An example is the cost of labor. The difference between those two numbers is their gross profit. They had their highest gross profit in the trailing 12 months at over 20 billion. Below that is operating expenses. Examples are depreciation and marketing. And below that is operating income. Their operating income has grown a lot since 2018, from 100 million all the way up to 2 billion. It doubled from 2020. Below is the interest they pay on their debt, and it looks like they're paying less interest each year, from 870 million down to 560 million. Below that is other income and expenses. This is usually impairments or write-offs. Then below that is pre-tax income and their taxes. And the bottom line of the income statement is their net income. They had really strong net income in the trailing 12 months, more than double from 2020. Supermarkets are notorious for really bad margins. They had $69 billion of revenue and only converted 1 billion into net income because their expenses are so high relative to their revenue. Whole Foods has pretty good margins because they charge a premium for their products, but regular supermarkets have really low margins. You can see how low their net profit margin is: 0.1%, 0.2%, 0.7%, and 1.4%. So they are improving their margins each year by quite a bit. This is the company's statement of cash flows. The top line is operating cash flow. That's how much cash the company generates from its operational business. You could think of operating cash flow as net income converted to cash, because net income is your accounting profit and loss. It's not actual cash. Then you have capital expenditures, which are investments in property, plant, and equipment. Operating cash flow minus CapEx gives you your free cash flow. And they had a lot of free cash flow in the trailing 12 months, over $2 billion. They do pay a small dividend, but another way to reward shareholders is to buy back stock. It looks like they used a lot of their free cash flow to repurchase stock. They bought back 1.9 billion in the trailing 12 months. When a company buys back stock, it decreases the shares outstanding, making your shares more valuable. You can see they issue debt every year, but they also pay down debt. They pay down more debt than they issue. In 2018, they issued 300 million, paid down 1 billion. So they decreased their debt load 700 million in 2018. They decreased it 1.2 billion in 2019, about 2 billion in 2020, and about 200 million in the trailing 12 months. Let's look at the capital structure. $1.4 billion of equity, $14 billion of debt. They're 9% equity, 91% debt. Their net debt is $12.6 billion, and their WACC is 7%, and that's a discount rate we're going to apply to the future cash flows. We estimated 4 years of future free cash flows. We also estimated a terminal value, which is all cash flows past year 4, that's $13 billion. We discounted those numbers back to today using the weighted average cost of capital. We get a value of the company of $12 billion. We divide that by 466 million shares. And we get a calculated stock price of $25. They're trading at $19, so they're trading at a 26% discount. It's a buy according to the model. Simply Wall Street saying the stock is really undervalued. They're coming up with a stock price of $64, much higher than me. If you think my future free cash flows should be higher, then your estimate would be higher than $25. But if you think my future free cash flows should be lower, then your estimate should be lower than $25. In the past 3 months, 12 analysts priced this stock. The average price was $19. The low was 13, the high was 24. So my valuation is a little more than a high. Simply Wall Street is way up there. You can see the company IPO'd last year, and the stock price was pretty flat for a while. It looks like it's increasing a little bit the past few months. This company pays a 10-cent dividend. That's a 2.11% dividend yield. And to calculate the dividend yield, just multiply the last dividend payment by 4. Take that number, that's 40 cents, and divide by the stock price. They pay out 19% of their net income and 9% of their free cash flow. So it looks like they're keeping most of the money in-house to grow the company and to buy back stock. The industry pays a 1.6% dividend yield. They're higher than the average in the industry. The bottom 25% of the market pays a 1.3%. They're higher than the bottom 25%. But the top 25% of the market pays 3.6%. They're lower than the top 25%. So it looks like they're in the middle. Analysts are forecasting their dividend to decrease to 1.5% over the next 3 years. Here is a list of all the chains under Albertsons. And the biggest chain is Safeway at 900 stores, then Albertsons at 395. There's lots of other stores sprinkled in. Vons 199, United 49, and Acme 163, and a bunch of others. In the past 52 weeks, this stock went up 25%, while the S&P 500 went up 65%. The 52-week low was 13, the high was 21. And the stock is trading above its 50-day and 200-day moving average, so it seems to be on an uptrend. About 2.5 million shares are traded each day on this stock. Of the 466 million shares outstanding, 236 million are on float, 74% are held by institutions, and over 12% of the shares on float are shorted. In the past 7 days, this stock went up 1.9%, while the industry only went up 0.5% and the market went down 2.2%. Albertsons has been killing it the past 30 days, up 17%, while the industry and market were down. In the past 90 days, Albertsons is up 25%, while the industry was down over 1% and the market was up 5.1%. Analysts are forecasting this company's earnings to decrease 4%, while the industry grows 10.5% and the market grows 19%. The forecast for the revenue is to decrease 1.5%, while the industry increases and the market increases. Cerberus, the private equity firm, owns 33% of their stock, then Lubert Adler, then Schottenstein Stores, Claff Realty, and Kimco Realty. Let's look at their financial ratios. The average PE in the market's 32, the median is 22. PE is stock price over earnings per share. To calculate earnings per share, that's net income over shares outstanding. They're at 8.9, so investors are paying about $9 for $1 of earnings. Price to sales is stock price over sales per share. They're at 0.1, an amazing price to sales ratio. Price to book is stock price over book value per share. They're at 6.4. And the way you calculate book value per share, it's equity over shares outstanding. Equity is assets minus liabilities in the balance sheet, and they have $1.4 billion of equity, negative $1.9 billion of tangible equity. because they have $3.3 billion of intangible assets on their balance sheet. The reason they have so much intangibles on their balance sheet is because every time a company acquires another company, it usually gets intangible assets. That's the only way to get intangible assets on your balance sheet is when you acquire another company. Their return on invested capital is 11%. The way you calculate that, the numerator is EBIT times 1 minus the tax rate, which is $1.5 billion. The denominator is equity plus net debt. This means the company earns 11% on its business, while its WACC is 7%. So it earns 4 cents on the dollar. So that's why companies like this take out so much debt, because they're taking on debt at 3-4% interest when they're getting 11% return. Interest coverage ratio is EBIT over interest expense. They can cover their interest payments almost 4 times. ROE is net income over equity. They have an amazing ROE at 71%. The reason their ROE is so high is because they take on debt. When a company takes on a lot of debt and becomes leveraged, they can inflate their ROE. Current ratio is current assets over current liabilities. They have a good current ratio of 1.1, and their current assets are 1.8 billion of cash, $500 million of receivables, and 4.6 billion of inventory. So the company appears to be well capitalized. They had $2 billion of free cash flow. They have over $800 million of working capital and less than $200 million of dividend payments. So they have $2.7 billion of funding. The best way to look at ratios to compare them to similar companies, I've done videos of 6 other companies in the same industry as Albertsons. And if Albertsons has a number in blue, they're better than the average. If they have a number in red, they're worse than the average. So they're a lot better in PE. They have the best price to sales ratio. They do have the highest price to book of all the companies. They're below average in current ratio, but as long as they're above 1, it's fine. They're by far the highest ROE, but they have the highest debt. That just goes to show you having a lot of debt helps your ROE, as you can see. And in terms of market cap, they are lower than average. They're at 8.7 billion, average is 17 billion. They pay a higher than average dividend at 2.13%. Average is 1.61%. So to summarize, I have them trading at a 26% discount, but this is a really big company. It's been around a long time, so I think it's a great long-term play. I rank their free cash flows 9 out of 10, their revenue 9 out of 10, and their ratios 9 out of 10. So let me know what you think. Give this video a like, subscribe, or comment below. Also, if you'd like to get a custom valuation or just support the channel, you can become a member by clicking on the link in the description below. Thanks for watching.